I'm Dylan Ratigan. I've interviewed nearly every CEO and most world leaders during the past 25 years. And now on Bootstrapping, I'm turning my attention to the new CEOs and the irrepressible entrepreneurs leading the next generation of innovation in the world.
In the tradition of Montana's pioneering spirit, and born of the same individualism, enthusiasm, and ingenuity that marks the American West, come the most innovative skis in skiing. Peak Skis. Created by Bodie Miller in Bozeman, Montana. With new thinking, unbridled passion, and new technology that promises to forever change the ski industry.
Welcome back to Tasty Live. I am Dylan Ratigan. Time for another episode of Bootstrapping. Our guests today, Andrew Worth and Bodie Miller. They're on the Republic platform raising funds for an undertaking that they shall discuss, Peak Skis. I did some personal research with some ski friends, and they said that Bodie Miller would never associate himself with shit equipment. Was the text that I received, and so that's the pre-existing marketplace. Why these skis? What makes these skis special beyond? Why would you associate yourself and promote a ski?
Well, to be fair, I've been on plenty of companies where the skis have been, I don't know if shit is exactly the right description, but they've been less than optimal. But in this case, that was one of the driving forces, was that every company I've been on has been, a major player when I was racing. That's, K2, Ratigan, Atomic, Head, Fisher. And I didn't have the type of control or the type of anonymity within the company to do what I thought was the right thing. It was always an amalgamation of a lot of different racers and engineers and everything else. And so Andy and I really wanted to create a situation where, I ultimately had the ability to have ownership of the end product, where I could be
from the design perspective and the development perspective, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. So the skis that hit the snow were basically, I owned that process.
And so then what would you say are like the key notes from your design and development role here and relative to this ski? You would have given to K2, but they would have never taken the meeting at the time.
No, they did. They took the meeting, but then I'd tell them what to do, and then they'd modify every single part of what I said to do.
Okay.
And then
so anyway, what's different this time, I guess, at the end of the day? And what are the highlights of the design?
All scuttling around with it. We're all aligned, and ultimately, when there's some nuanced stuff in ski design, right? We've developed a shape ski, and that sort of brought about a lot more interest in the sport globally in the mid 90s. And then rocker and early rise and kind of a different, wider ski came around, and that was great for the industry as well. But there's downsides to all those. And so in this case with Peak, we sort of took a fresh view of like, okay, we're not going to build one-dimensional skis that are meant for groomers and then try to, a series of compromises to make them not be awful at everything else, right? That's the way every ski company typically does it right now. They'll build a ski that's for groomers, and they'll try to make it not terrible and everything else. So they'll build a powder ski, they'll try to make it not terrible and everything else. And, it's been a motto in the ski industry of like, do one thing really well, right? And there's nobody's going to argue that that's a terrible plan, except that skiing is never one thing. Every single person on the planet who goes out and skis is facing a variety of conditions and changing conditions from morning till afternoon. And you don't want to have 6 pairs of skis with you every day, so that you can, when the conditions change a little bit, or you feel like skiing a different trail, you have to switch skis to have an optimal experience. So we reduced the side cut. We introduced the keyhole, which is a really kind of a universally confidence building feel. You bring all the power to the middle of the ski as opposed to a shape ski, which the power kind of comes from the tip and tail. So we went a different direction, and it makes it very noticeable, even for an inexperienced skier. and really accessible for a beginner, intermediate. But yet the same ski can go into the trees, can ski some powder, can make hard turns on groomers, can get grip on ice. And I think, the challenge there was to not make a very vanilla ski that does nothing really well, but does everything okay. And that's always been the balance in skiing, is like, do one thing really well or do everything kind of halfway. And in this case, we had a design criteria that made it so we wanted to try to do everything really well. And I would say the technology that I brought to the table and that we put in place with Peak really does accomplish that. And that's exciting for all of us.
Andrew, go ahead.
Yeah, Dylan, I'd add something, and this is respectful of my good friend and business partner, co-founder. We've been friends for a while, coming from the industry, the ski industry, from different angles of attack, but the same beliefs and passion for the mountains and more. And it came to me in many discussions with him, and there's more to it than just this element, of course, with our company. But to answer your question very precisely, there are plenty of circumstances where there are brilliant people and great athletes. There's very few instances of folks that are great athletes, legendary athletes, but also have the engineering mind. Bodie is really more like Chuck Yeager that he's not, and in other words, being an aeronautical engineer in the form of General Yeager, but at the same time a test pilot. He's got this Mensa level creative engineering brilliance that is not well known, frankly. And it came to me over the past few years and talking with him about everything, including skis, that there had been, and this is the crux of the answer to your question, is so many people, so many egos, so much history, so much legacy in between his mind and the skis that he was working with, the companies he was working with. And one of the fundamental elements we did with Peak was take all of the gap that's there, egos, noise, junk, and there's nothing in between his mind and his experience and the skis. And there's like fundamental differences that spill out of that, including keyhole, shape, design, and hundreds of hours of calls with our OEM suppliers. But it's critical to know that really one of the things we did with Peak for the first time in his career was take all of that noise and the egos that were in between his mind and skis and eliminate it. And so what people are skiing on now on Peak skis, and what thankfully have been award-winning skis, year one, they are basically a direct expression of what's been in his mind for many years. And we harness the benefits at Peak Ski Company.
How much of the ability to do it now is driven by technology and materials relative to strength and weight and tolerance and all those sorts of things that you could even entertain to make one ski that's great at everything and not have to suffer the discount of excellence at any one thing that's been historical? I just wonder how much of this is a function of both the engineering alignment and the production alignment, but also potentially advanced materials.
That was so the real catalyst to starting the company was not this line of skis or even what we've addressed so far on this conversation. The real catalyst was re-engineering the whole manufacturing process, reimagining it from start to finish. Right now, skis are not recyclable at all. They're a series of layers, 6, 7, 8, 10 layers of stuff, all glued together, pressed under high pressure, heated up. And they sit in landfills for a few hundred years before they start to degrade. And they're pretty toxic. They're not good at all. And so we looked at this from zero ground of like, okay, if we using all the modern machinery, automated manufacturing, and modern material science has come a long way in the last 25 years. Aerospace, things have really kind of expanded exponentially, but you can't use most of those really cool materials in the current process. It's not that we wouldn't want to use them in the current process. They just don't work in the current process, and they're not scalable. So, anyone who's doing this for serious is going to be looking at trying to build, okay, how scalable? You can build a great ski, one ski. If it's not scalable, why are you even bothering? So unless you're just looking to ski on it yourself. So in this case, the real catalyst for starting the company was we had a connection with a very good friend of mine who owns Beeler Manufacturing. It's a international powerhouse in automated manufacturing. They make 40% of the metal parts in cars and all the light switches and sockets in the US. And they're just absolute wizards with engineering and automated manufacturing. And all the stuff that we need to build skis that way, they already do in one industry or another. So there's no there's no real scary parts of having to reimagine everything. It's just putting that into this industry and being able to move the needle in terms of recyclability, repurposing, retasking materials, speed of engineering, and speed of prototyping. Right now, the prototyping process is really slow. You build a mold, you have to cut all your materials, you literally hand lay them into a mold, then you put them in the press. The press takes 40 minutes, squishes the ski real tight and cooks it, heats everything up, the glue melts and it fuses together, then this whole finishing process. And when I got into the conversation with Andy, I said, look, I've been friends with this guy Matthias for a long time. We can build a ski in 10 seconds with no molds. That eliminates a huge cost and a huge time suck in the beginning. And we can use modern materials in this new methodology where we can use some of the aerospace materials, some of the military, stuff that gets kind of kicked out the side door once they decide they don't need it. And we can actually really build skis that are, next bring it into the 21st century. Like, we haven't changed anything in the ski world really, in my mind, since Howard Head started building the first laminate skis in the late 50s, early 60s. It really hasn't changed. So we saw that as the real.
So really the instrumental piece, if I'm understanding what you're saying, is the availability of state-of-the-art advanced manufacturing capacity that you could influence on the production. So you could re-engineer the product supply chain and be able to even integrate both your design and new materials, and then come into the traditional commercial marketplace.
And Dylan, there's
real quick,
I'll take it.
Just that.
Go ahead, buddy.
It's that when you try to, there's no similarity between the way skis are manufactured now and the way that we're going to manufacture them. And that's really tricky for a major player to take on, because you really have to understand all the variables of what goes into making a ski do a certain thing. The only thing similar is what they're going to look like at the end, right? They'll still look like a ski, but everything else is different. So there's the challenge of the partnership that we have with Buehler because of my friendship with Matthias. And then the challenge for the engineers who typically aren't skiers. They're engineers. And so for them to completely reimagine, instead of all these layers, the way the sandbox they play in is no longer the sandbox they have to think in. And that's crazy. So for them, it's not really feasible to do what we're doing, as well as the fact that they're already locked into massive manufacturing plants and they're sort of stuck a bit. And we are.
There's an SOP. They've been doing the same thing since 1960. There's just an SOP. There's a training system and all of it.
Yeah. Until somebody does something different, they're going to keep doing the same thing, and we're the person.
Right. Yeah. But so then the question for you, Andrew, is: have you lost your mind? Like, these other people that maintain that system have a much more prudent financial consideration at the board level to avert the catastrophic risk of a failure for something insane like of the world's, like a new ski. So
correct. And Dylan, Andy, you can answer that. They don't have a lot of margin to play with.
Yeah. So Dylan, one thing, I'm go back half a step here. Your understandable line of questions starts with the what, and that's the skis, right? But I just tell you point blank, we're proud of what we've done, but it's a Yogi Berra-ism, but a truth at the same time. The least important thing about our company are the skis, but they're critical. The why, that's the what. The why we came out of retirement and the why we've taken this on, and it's thankfully the why on value creation for investors and for us, and that is the strategic initiatives that we've put forth. And one of them is integration of technology in skis, and we have this inventive new tracking locating device that we're putting in all of our skis next year called Peak Locate. That's strategic item number one. Number two is development of advanced materials, basically a new thermoplastic. And then Bodhi speaks to the manufacturing process, and this is critical. It is going back to 1960. We have one of the best ski presses on the planet here at our offices in Bozeman, Montana, but it's archaic. I mean, it's the same thing it's been for years and years and years. This is, in fact, completely re-engineering the whole process by which skis are made. It's not a new ski press. It's a new process with this remarkable organization out of Hallbleck, Germany, that Bodhi knows. And make it clear, their clients include Mercedes-Benz and Bosch, and they wouldn't return our call. But because of Bodhi, we have entree, and also that creative, inventive mind has us looking away and say, we think that there's a better way. Now, to your point, if you're a CFO or an FP&A guy, you're looking at a tank factory full of ski presses that are fully amortized, and there's because they operate fundamentally in their business models in a low margin business. They have these amortized capital assets. There's really no impetus. There's no reason for any kind of creative, reinvention type thinking on this. We have the benefit and challenge of being new. In this case, it's a pretty substantial benefit, and we're making great progress on this. It also speaks to value creation for investors and for us as the founders.
So what's next? Why are you raising money? Why are you doing interviews? Why are you on Republic?
Yeah, straight up. We launched a company in April 2022. All of it bootstrapping with appropriate truth with what we've been doing with our own capital from our careers, and developed a team that is not only capable of deploying and putting these skis out in the market, and currently working with OEM suppliers of skis and more, but also driving these strategic initiatives. And frankly, we had a great first year. We're enjoying a terrific second year, but we are in the need of additional capital, basically, to substantiate these strategic initiatives. Is really what it comes down to.
You need the working capital to run more lines, to make more skis, or to support more sales and distribution, or all the above.
Two of the three that you listed there, mostly supporting the strategic initiatives, development of and deployment of Peak Locate, the thermoplastic effort, and the work on reengineering the process. But we're also switching manufacturers of skis for 24, 25. So we're, basically purchasing inventory and process and production time for 24, 25. So it's really all of the above.
And how much money are you raising, and how much of it are you raising on Republic, and how much is through more traditional?
Yeah, we had a pre-cash valuation of $13 million, a small company based on pro forma EBITDA and current multiples 2 years ago. We raised $8 million through a convertible debt, basically completed that process. So about 5-6 months ago. We initiated on the Project Republic element, the safe note through Republic. I think about 2 months ago, we've raised $830,000 with a target of $1.2 million. So we're call it $400,000 away. This effort closes with that amount or with a calendar date of March 17. And we're raising that capital for those purposes. But what is interesting is, frankly, I have a bit of a private equity background more than anything. Call it a bit of a traditionalist. And I would tell you point blank, I was not excited about looking at kind of using this kind of crowdfunding mechanism. But my FP&A guy and VP of Finance and Accounting talked us into it because, and Bodie was in favor. The instrument itself was good use of capital. We know we have that, but at the same time, how in this process, it was as much the democratization of the ability to invest in our company and Bodie and our efforts in these initiatives as much as it was anything else. This was the effort with Republic. Yes, was about access to the capital but is also about the consumer markets and some of the excitement we had generated through the skis in year 1 and 2. And we've developed a community of customers that are really advocates, in some cases, really substantial advocates, to say the least. Like some friends that we all
my
have.
buddy I was telling you about, he's a maniac. He's gonna apply for an internship after he sees this.
Well, give him my email address, Dylan, and he's
be the first guy to leave Goldman Sachs to be an intern at Peak Skis in Park City. He'll be like, I'm sure there's a lot of him.
Well, that speaks to it, right? And we'll revert back to what is ultimately underneath this, and that is we still, even though we're experienced, we have lots of experience in the business realm, in this case, development realm, but we're still passionate about the sport and the industry, which is actually quite healthy and growing. And in this case, the advocacy that your friend, I guess that's a clinical way to put it almost, right? But his passion, and it's almost becomes like sports teams, like Patriots fans and Broncos fans, or religion.
No, but I guess my interjection, not to become a collaborative, as I'm paid to be your adversary at the moment, but it's Bodie has a great demographic of smart people that are also good at doing something, whether it's an engineer, whether it's finance, whether it's art. which is typical of going back to our beginning conversation of New England athlete celebrity as a good candidate for the sort of both, the holier than all that shall have, like, walks on water, and also like should bring you a banana, and everything in between.
Well, this is, I mean, for me, right? I'm from New Hampshire. You don't deal with a lot of people who over a coffee at the local shop will be talking about their portfolio investments, right? Like that area is not that. But Republic really brings a unique way, easy, accessible for people to invest in a company, small stuff that can be impactful, but just makes them feel good. A lot of the people in that area want to invest not because they think it's going to make them rich. I don't think they even think about what that would mean, but because they believe in something and they think it's cool and they want to be a part of it. So that was a huge component of the Republic raise was, the capital, but we could have gone a lot of different ways with that. We had great tailwinds, momentum. But this was a really cool mechanism to offer that to your sort of average person and really, straightforward to our customers, people who, took the risk, jumped on a new ski, bought it in a new way, direct consumer, right? Took that leap. They're kind of already qualified as out of the box thinkers because they're first movers in a kind of a new space in the ski world. And skiing is not like football or basketball, right? It's a lifestyle. It's an industry beyond a sport.
People move to a different state to live the lifestyle.
Yeah. It's right. Akin to surfing or something like that, more than a typical traditional sport. So to be able to offer people a chance to get invested in a company that they like and believe in is really, that was a big part of the motivation.
And Dylan, one thing I should mention, it somewhat relates to your point there. I didn't complete the swing, so to speak, but post cash before Republic, we had a company valuation at 21 million. And because of advancing on the strategic initiatives and the clear line of sight we have on the value derived, the current Republic offering has a company valued at 35 million. That's where we sit presently. We have reason to believe, and neither of us are kind of pie in the sky tech startup folks that are running valuations on 28 multiple of revenue. We are a net operating cash EBITDA generating organization, and our projections currently in long term, present term and long term are favorable in generating cash, net operating cash. And so the $35 million valuation we're currently working with is certainly small, growing to mid cap zones here over the coming years with our work on these initiatives. But I want to make the point is whether it be bringing them a banana or bringing them a new process machine and re-engineer process to make skis that ultimately has the world making 45% of the skis on our machine by 2029. We'll still bring the banana, but we'll also have this machine that can do something pretty remarkable.
What's the state of sales at the moment relative to direct to consumer? How many human beings are skiing on these skis as we speak, and what do you expect in what
cumulative total? We have about 9,200 skiers, individuals with multiple skis in many cases. And to date, we've pushed in the neighborhood of 5,500, 6,000 skis into the market. Probably have another 60 days of demand patterns. We tend to drive demand, not satiate demand in our model.
So you do activations and then you collect around a direct to consumer after an activation of some kind. In November, in December,
we're pure digital. We're pure direct to consumer e-com. And year two, we continue to learn and grow. But we actually have the benefit of a favorable margin association.
And those skiers that are on those skis are also probably your first bet for your investors at Republic, I would think.
Actually, the first 30 days of once we launched the Republic initiative, I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 82% we just came out of the gate screaming. I think we raced up to $350,000 raised inside of 2 weeks, and the 82% of them were our customers. And I thought that was telling.
Okay. All right. So let's say I'm sold, right? And so the final thing is sort of the Italian, execution eats strategy for breakfast, right? And so now you got to do it, right? And you got to have the other ski company not do it, and all the other things. And let's assume both of you are 10 out of 10, competent, the greatest ever. But you still require teams and teams of people, and it requires leadership and a culture. And so I guess I'd like to understand why you think your personal competence is also the right competence to set the foghorn of culture for this company. That's the real moat.
Love it. Great question. Bodhi, you want to take that or you want me to?
Yeah, I think, you're talking about, either a theoretical, are we theoretically really skilled, or are we in reality able to
implementation? Yeah.
And I think, certainly it's worth to note that I was able to go from Cannon Mountain in New Hampshire to winning the overall World Cup a couple times and beating all the rest of the guys in the world. But a big part of that was the way my mind worked for building my own value to companies, so that I could persuade very successful business owners to hire me above everybody else to come in and represent their brand and help them build better skis. So it wasn't just what I was doing on the hill, it was all the behind the scenes stuff for me. And that was a crash course in everything from marketing, business, brand activation, collaborations, and all that. And then on the other side of the call, you have Andy, who went from assistant photographer director or something at Steamboat to running and operating, Whistler Blackcomb, and doing, half the big, huge development projects around in Squaw, and running Interwest, and then ultimately founding and starting with some other people Altera, which is again one of the powerhouse ski operation companies in the US. And again, his background being in finance, but also knowing each step of the ladder through the ski industry on that side of it, I sort of knew each step of the ladder on my side. And when you come together, we are very, I would say, like-minded in the way we built the team here. Andy took the lead, and our story is compelling enough that we were able to pull people similar to us out of retirement who are not, straight out of college, like, hey, we're going to pay you $10 an hour. Hope you can fill the role. We're taking people who have sold companies for hundreds of millions of dollars that are used to operate ski industry, like people who are absolute wizards at digital marketing, people who have been ultra successful. And normally a startup wouldn't do that, right? But because of our path and our margins, right? We re-engineered the sort of whole process, so our margins are more healthy. But that's a part of raising this money, is we're sustaining a team right now that's capable of a lot more than what you're seeing on the surface, right? If you're seeing a ski company that's selling 10,000 pairs of skis digitally, right? Like, you could do that with 3 guys who are straight out of college. You could do it. We're looking at these strategic initiatives as ultimately the goal, and this is an intermediary step. So we're a part of a team. Andy and I are a part of a team right now that's way overqualified for what we're currently doing on the surface, but behind the scenes, we're operating these strategic initiatives that ultimately take us from what would be a rock fight to get past, say, 20,000 pairs of skis sold a year, and would never really be something to put us on Forbes magazine, to the initiatives, if we hit those, even a double in that field, right? We don't have to hit a home run, but even anything in that space is just, we're talking, huge improvement in the overall ski world. And this is global.
I'm sure you want the investors in this. Yeah, you want people
moving the needle for the ski manufacturing globally, but that's what we're doing.
Yeah, you want people invested in the narrative of your vision, not in the sales of your DTC ski activations.
Yeah, the sales of our own skis was never, it was fine for our current, or for our starting valuation, but to be a $500 million, $1 billion company, there had to be something else. And this is the announcement that kind of came out with Peak, is more like, these initiatives are real, we're moving them forward. When we execute on those, and these are people who are more than capable, have proven themselves in the past, they're proven winners across the board on our team. And when we execute on that, yeah, that's when it's cover of magazine stuff.
And Dylan, with your background, that question, the quality of that question doesn't surprise me, but axioms, right? Form follows strategy, but that item about vision and execution, that is absolutely central to what we starting up at my place in Big Sky, where we started with this gosh darn company. Gosh darn, I'm not supposed to be cussing so much nowadays, but the core of what you asked is the core of who we are and the team that we built. We have the capability of developing vision and strategy, but this is a group of type A alpha door kicking people that know how to execute, but they have a varied background in the core element of our business on the ethos of innovation, performance, precision, and grit, coupled with the ability to understand the business, the destination of our company in the long term, coupled with the ability to every minute of every day, kind of boys in the boat type thinking and cliches, metaphors, earn their seat every day. And this is a group of people that are high powered executives as well as capable of bringing folks bananas downstairs in the operations center. I mean, and this resilience element is not to be, or grit is not to be underestimated. That speaks to the ability to execute. We've made mistakes. We definitely have that in our ethos. We have learned, we've made mistakes, we've learned, and there's nothing easy about what we're doing, but at the same time, there's not a single person on our team that hasn't been doing anything but let's go, let's kill it. We're going to take over third world country and affect regime change by a week from tomorrow. Let's go. And our ability to execute is outstanding. It's actually one of the great traits our team maintains right now.
Well, I congratulate you both. I wish you both all the best. Thanks for the time. Nice to learn. I've obviously been somewhat persuaded. The future is hot right now, right? So again, yeah. So I just think, listen, it's like, it's a great category, right? Because of for all the reasons. I won't review the talking points, but nice to talk to both of you. The company Peak Skis, your guests, Andrew Worth and Bodie Miller. I am Dylan Ratigan. This is Bootstrapping, or has been Bootstrapping. You're watching Tasty Live, and we're back after this.